Every now and then the world gets into a particular mess. We're celebrating some of these messes from day to day on our newscasts, and sometimes it seems like the option is, how can we make it worse? Rather than how may we live such that this particular mishap or mayhem never repeat. But very often it's been said, and it's possibly true, that the media makes the situation worse, too. It was pretty rough around 1836 when Ramakrishna was born, because once again people had taken God's divine help and message and managed to make it cause for disagreement and dispute and such incredible unholy wars that the Lord was just clouded over in man's mind by bloodshed, by superstition, by fear, and so many torments visited on people in the name of God. Christ, for example, had come to make the divine available to man again during a very difficult time. Rome was so powerful, and Christ came to represent something more powerful than Rome, more powerful than worldliness, however systematic that worldliness may be. And Christ came and showed transcendental experience and possibilities to all the human race. And before you know it, you take Christ's message and Rome, combine them together, you got a real good combination. It was a combination which was able to make war and torment people for many centuries. And no doubt Christ wept. It is said on one occasion, those who have heard of Kriya Yoga, that Christ came to this great Himalayan yogi named Babaji, and he said to Babaji, "What happened to my people? I came to give them light and freedom. What happened to them? Look, it's all so institutionalized, it's all so locked in, that people have an impossible step going from their daily lives to the divine. And it is so barred by such unjust and unfair and untruthful concepts, having hardly any relationship to the message I gave. What are we going to do?" And Babaji and Christ determined to make the dispensation of Kriya Yoga available to the world once again. And that's some of the basic thought in back of the Kriya Yoga practices, that people can experience the Christ within, the divine Christ again. And from this divine Christ, relate directly to God the Father. And from this divine Christ, be able to understand the Christian scriptures to the extent of not going through bloodshed and war in order to be a spiritual person. Well, it was so rotten that the avenging Christian missionaries, particularly, were, because of material power and prowess, making people in various countries doubt that their religion was true or valid or from God. Or if they had a God, why was their God so weak, and why was the Christian God so strong? Because the Christian God provided British soldiers with lots of bullets and lots of money and lots of capacity to do ruthless things like starve out people in the name of their God. It was a hell of a mess. And when situations like this occur in history, God himself, at the key points, takes a human body, hard to believe, takes human flesh, comes into birth and walks among the people, and shows them many wondrous things about life and about the nearness of God, God's availability to them, the people. Not just the people who sit in caves and meditate for 50 years, but the people who are really busy or really goofed up, occupied by crazy habits. Drunks, prostitutes, greedy people, whatever. He comes and walks among the ordinary people and changes them. Makes available God's grace by which they are changed. And makes it very clear to people how good God is and how available God is and where man kind of went wrong and how if man changes this or that, he can experience the Lord again pretty easily. It was an atrocity in human life, the situation that existed prior to the time of God taking a birth in the form of Ramakrishna. God takes a birth in a most interesting way, perhaps with more scientific means available. The future avatars will be really authenticated, signed, sealed, and delivered. I mean, we'll be able to just have all kinds of cell studies done and whatnot. I don't know if the Lord will submit to it, but the Lord comes through Immaculate Conception. No male sperm involved, but a quickening of the energy within a very pure woman who is called to be the mother and carry this miraculous little tyke to full term and into his divine life. I mean, the combination of male and female cells is a miracle to begin with, but I mean, and we shouldn't shun that. I mean, there's some great truth in that, the way that you and I have been born. Well, the beautiful thing is that the Lord is willing to take a birth and get this density and fullness such that as he walks among us, we can touch him, see him, talk with him. Anyway, he took a most interesting, and this is about as close as I know of as a very clear way of taking Immaculate Conception. Ramakrishna's mother was surrounded by companions most all the time. Ramakrishna's dad was visiting hundreds of miles away, doing a pilgrimage and worshiping the Lord in Gaya, I think it was called. Okay, so he is taking a nap and he has a vision. The Lord says, I'm going to take a birth in your house. And being a very considerate Brahmin, the fellow said, please, Lord, you better choose somebody else's house. I just don't have the means to look after you the way you deserve to be looked after. And the Lord said something like, ready or not. And surrounded by companions, or near companions, most all the time. And certainly it would have been very, very difficult for any man to come near in any kind of male-female relationship. It'd be very, very hard for anyone to come near this very pure and also mostly surrounded and also protected by custom, wonderful lady. One day she was standing worshipping in Kamarpukur, or Jairambati, I think it was Kamarpukur. They're about 4 miles apart. They're in northern Bengal. She was standing in front of this temple and worshipping Shiva, and a very powerful light, energy, came from the image into her womb and really stirred life in that sacred womb. And she just fell to the ground in a swoon of rapture and incredible exaltation that such a thing could enter her being. And it just transformed her, and she knew she was pregnant, and her husband, quite a distance away, knew She was pregnant. And so came to birth 9 months later the great little kid, Sri Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna had come for the specific mission of taking the beautiful, great teachings and examples and possibilities that God had made available to man through the previous incarnations, because there had been several, making them available and understood, making them into a perspective by which mankind could find world peace, harmony, love, tolerance. A transformation of the awareness of the human being was to be realized through the magnificence of this very divine little child who grew to manhood. And Ramakrishna's life has many examples about choosing the divine. If you'll choose the divine instead of the sense appearance, instead of the way things look, you'll come out better. In fact, God will back you up again and again and again. And so this man again and again chose what he sensed to be a divine possibility, and he showed how a divine possibility is so much more real and so much more manifestable than is what seems like a sure thing in the sense world, in the world of catch as catch can, or kind of the animalistic competitional world. Ramakrishna established this reality that God is real and available. And he says the easiest way to get to know the Lord is realize you're a child. Don't presume so much with your intellect, because you'll continually push God away with your limited viewpoints, which have been pushed into you mainly through misinterpreted and misunderstood and misspoken information by religious leaders for the past many years, who were striving to legislate for the benefit of their purse or organization or whatever. So the lovely Ramakrishna came. And among things to be added here are, if you chant his name, you'll sense God's presence. You don't have to chant his name, but if you just chant his name, maybe put the word Om in front, you'll sense his presence. And if it's some particular incarnation, Jesus the Christ, Rama, or Krishna, or Chaitanya, if it's some particular incarnation that you just seek to come to peace with and know and understand more fully, we'll never understand fully these great messages of these incarnations, but at least to get on the track, you can chant to Ramakrishna. He'll give you that introduction. He'll give you that contact of divine light and love by which and through which you can behold the particular incarnation that is the yearning of your heart. And Ramakrishna himself is an incarnation. He represents a combination of these messages plus a new thrust. I'm telling you, if magnificence was ever done on this planet, and there have been many magnificent times, but one of the most magnificent occasions in the history of the human race, without any doubt, is the birth and the walking of this earth by that humble, sweet Ramakrishna and his holy wife, Sharada Devi. Well, Ramakrishna came and again made the divine Lord available. And he said, if you'll just think of the Lord as being like your mother, you the child, you call out to the Lord, maybe in his name, the easiest. But think of yourself like you're crying out to your mother. God can't refuse you, and God will come as that comfort and that blessing giver and that time accelerator toward the divine, and these various factors, and that protection from the worldly, from your own worldliness, that protection comes. Oh, sweet. It's just so sweet. It's just so real for those who try. It's just so great. I've been asked questions if I talk about him, so here I am doing it. Like, does one have to believe in Thakur? Thakur is the word meaning the dear Lord. And Taku can be used widely. In fact, in India, it's used so widely you get very confused. But Taku means the dear Lord, and one of the incarnations of the dear Lord, one of the times, is that of Ramakrishna. But you could use Taku to mean others. But at the same time, the most common use of Taku that I know of in Costa Mesa, California, is that particular incarnation. Because you'll find people of all persuasions being called Taku. This is what made it interesting, trying to figure out who this Taku was when I first heard about him. Does one have to, here's the question, does one have to believe in Ramakrishna? Well, of course not. The Lord is loving, the Lord is your own. It's just you're deeply, deeply blessed and fortunate if with some ease you can see the divine in Ramakrishna and chant his name and sense God's presence in that way. You're just so fortunate. You have more wealth than Rockefeller if you can, with ease, think of the name of and the life of Ramakrishna, and through it see how the divine Lord is blessing all humanity, and especially you, each individual, through this holy life. It's just to have a great, great blessing. Knowing me at the beginning of the spiritual path, I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have believed such a thing. My mind would have quibbled with everything. A guy sitting on a branch behaving like a monkey is holy. A guy running around night and day singing God's name is holy. Yeah, I guess I would have agreed to that one. A guy who did seem a bit impractical here and there. On the beginning of the path, I couldn't have done that. My faith needed some kind of definite experience. In other words, my faith was so weak I didn't have any. I needed an experience. Now, it could be that God will give you an experience, which is really super, but don't kick yourself because you don't believe. Just feel that you do have a deficiency of this magnificent quality called faith. You can build up faith by just whatever you want. Like you could sense that perhaps there is a vast underlying principle in all creation and try to look for it. And as a result of really introspecting deeply, you may sense, yes, there is an underlying principle in all creation. Then begin to believe in it. Begin to observe it working and begin to believe in it. Maybe that tender little beginning gives you some faith. I mean, I feel kind of angry at the Lord. I'd sign another petition. Faith's hard to get. Because just about everybody out there in the world is trying to break your faith. I mean, they're either trying to break it through your direct relationship with them, or they are trying to steal it to something like their product. Or if you get a little bit of faith, they want to use some of yours, and they all jump on your little raft, and you all drown because your faith isn't big enough to scarcely hold yourself up, let alone anybody else. So to not have faith is to be impoverished. And it's the most common poverty we've got today. We're poor. It's hard to believe in God, and people come along and give us a lot of reason for distrust and a lot of personal agony because of these thieves and things that go bump in the night. If you know that poem, ghoulies and geesties and long-legged beasties and things that go bump in the night. Heaven preserve us, O Lord. And that's an official prayer in the Scots Presbyterian book, Ghoulies and Geesties and Long-Legged Beasties. And that's part of the problem right there in that poem. So, how, you see, do I have to believe? How can you believe? If you ask that question, do you have to believe? No, you can't. You're not qualified to believe. But another thing is, if you ask the Lord for faith and belief, He'll take even a sparrow with a broken wing who's been hurt trying to believe before, heal that wing, and you'll learn to fly again. Sparrow with two broken wings will fly and mount the sky again. to freedom, to realization. It's very magnificent, very magnificent. Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about Thakur's strange ways. People who have thought lovingly of other avatars or so-called avatars, people who weren't avatars but were high masters and great yogis, for example, very often use the master or the avatar as kind of like a wish fulfiller. When the chips are down, you go there and you just lean on God strong, and God's got to come through with something to help your situation or placate you. Like you go to the dentist, you get an all-day sucker. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, a lot of people want God to be like that. In their extremity, they want their all-day sucker, and they want to just get something sweet to make them feel that the pain's worth it or whatever. And approaching Ramakrishna, this incarnation of Ramakrishna, is perplexing because of his mission. Not his fault, but it's perplexing. At the beginning, you go to him like the regular wish fulfiller you want. You are a human being and you got troubles and you need God's help with your troubles. Simple as that. And so you go to the Lord, Ramakrishna, for example, you chant his name, he will. He'll help you. But you get a little bit over that, and you go to him the next time, and you'll sense a loving, sweet presence, but you won't sense that you're getting your care package. You're not getting the utility kit like you got last time. And that's what makes Ramakrishna hard to believe in. It's hard to believe he's an avatar when other masters and incarnations give constant care packages, are expectable, and can be kind of predictable. And the thing, if you want to know one thing about Ramakrishna, he's never predictable. Never. Why? Because of your importance. The Lord has come through Ramakrishna for the devotee to mature from somebody in trouble and a mess all the time who wants help. The Lord will put up with that only so long. If it's genuine as a result of your making progress, that you're in trouble and you want help, He'll descend and help again and again and again. If, on the other hand, His helping you with the problem hasn't caused an awakening of your consciousness to the point that you realize there's something better in life for me, I represent more to the Lord than a helpless kid, that I represent to the Lord a devotee. And the Lord prizes a devotee more than any other creature. See, the Lord wants to, through His love and blessing of you, transform you into a spiritually strong and incredibly beautiful likeness of these divine attributes. The Lord wants to fill you with His love and light so that you begin to relate to life in a greater fullness. As a result, you've transcended a lot of these picayune problems. Those you don't want to bother the Lord with because the divine within you can handle them. So what happens is, if you're dynamically involved on a path of Ramakrishna's design, perpetual and continual growth absolutely required. It's not growth so much in the kind of thing you read that you're supposed to have in some kind of textbook for college or whatever. It's growth in terms of the divine love play. You, a devotee, are here not just to suffer and ask for help. You're here to share in the divine creation, the divine emanation, and grow up. This being a child, being this acceptant, loving dancer, yes, forever. That's what he meant by being a child. He didn't mean, though, going to God every time the screw came off your wheel. He means, screw it back on and let's go. But so many people deny the divinity within themselves that they just go so far in a static, repetitive way, and then they want God, and then they're in a funk because God won't come because of their stupidity. The Lord is trying to set up a dynamic relationship with you wherein your problems or whatever are opportunities to relate to the Lord. Then through them, He inspires you to a new state of awareness, and you approach the Lord in ever new, ever more beautiful, sweet, divine, and holy ways that go on, savoring the divine fact that the Lord's created you. And the Lord has come to relate to you in an incredible relationship called Nitya Lila, the eternal play of love between devotee and God. You see, previous interpretations of the various incarnations is, you get it right, you suffer like crazy, you do good when everybody else doing bad seems to be having a lot more fun, well, you get to go to heaven. You get subtle, wondrous luxuries up there if you just behave in this one. Tragic understanding. Certainly, I doubt that Christ ever said that. In fact, they've even discovered that the word heaven is incorrectly used in the Bible. It's supposed to be heavenlies, representing different realms of consciousness. Anyway, that's one of the reasons it's hard to love Thakur, have faith in Thakur Ramakrishna, because he's expecting that helping you with your life is just the beginning, and that when he has helped you with your life, he's going to go on to an ever new, readier, more joyous embrace, love play between devotee and the Lord, and that one is to be transformed in one's expression and one's existence. But it's hard to love him when you want to stand on the bottom rung, and he's saying, come on up. No, I want to stand on the bottom rung. I'm happy down here. And you say, fine, come on up. I'm unhappy here. Okay, you're unhappy there. Come on up. But the Lord Ramakrishna, just chanting his name and everything you think about him, do about him, it's dynamic. It's pushing you forward, lifting you forward, and there's an incredible joy and bliss in the cells of your being as this happens. So, got to say that about Ramakrishna. Because a lot of people feel that, like I know of one person who was saying, when I really want something or need something, they say, while Ramakrishna is the form of God I particularly love, when I really need something, I got to go to somebody else. And I said, well, when you really love the Lord in the form of Ramakrishna, but when you need somebody, you got to go to somebody else. Do you know what that means? It means that you're not approaching him right at all. If you feel no response from him on this occasion, when you feel such love and everything going on between you, it means you're definitely making the wrong approach. You should search within yourself, say, what way should I, a devotee of the Lord, approach the Lord Ramakrishna at this time? In what way should I make my approach? Because if you don't feel that incredible response and love and that joy and the divine dance, you're doing something wrong. There's some area of your life, the situation has been designed to make you grow, and you're not growing. You want the same old bottom rung relationship with the Lord. Another thing about Ramakrishna is there's no rivalry in the heavenlies. Anybody who relates to the Lord has got to get beyond being a beggar. And Ramakrishna will help you, whatever your relationship, whatever form of God or formless you love, especially by his grace, by the Lord's grace through him, whatever you want to say, to move into a dynamic relationship with your divine beloved, whomever you may call him. He will help you move into something that's alive instead of When you're in trouble, dial this number. So any relationship that's called spiritual that's not dynamic isn't spiritual. It's got to be better today than it was yesterday. Got to be better this week than it was last week. Or it's not religious, because religion comes from the words religio, to relink, to join again with the beloved Lord. And it involves, in order to do that, this incredible reality called the Holy Spirit, or the Divine Mother, it's called in India. It's dynamic. It involves growth, expansion, transcendence, freedom. So that's it about Taku's strange ways. You find today he's not accessible as yesterday. Yes, he is. You're not as accessible. Under those preconditions which you kind of set, he was willing to come in. And then he's saying, let's change the conditions, because you're a much more beautiful person than you conceive. And there's much more wonder and possibility in your life than you conceive. Now, look, I've come into your conditions. Please change some of your limitations. Open them up a little bit. Be more ready to receive life and your divinity. And so you got to make that change. Some people awfully slow. But he's here to transform. That we realize that we are spiritual beings, conscious spiritual beings, created by the Lord to begin with. Well, those are some of the wonders of God's love that he has taken form as this particular incarnation. I'm named after him, so I guess you know I have a certain bias. But I never really knew the Christ or experienced the Christ very much at all until Sri Ramakrishna became part of my life. But to each his own way. Now, I think that basically concludes what I have to say today. Recently, I had 15, when it was Labor Day, I had a chance with lots of people being available to have appointments. So I had appointments that day, and I saw about 15, 16 people. And you know, in every case, each person wanted to be a better person, to love God more, and to grow. I can't tell you what a privilege it was to sit there in the presence of devotees created by the Lord who are seeking for a maturing and ever-growing and ever more beautiful relationship with God. It's a great privilege. So I see that relationship and I say, praise the Lord Ramakrishna.